Welcome to Icing on the Cake. Today we're going to make a rosette cake.
So we're going to start with our basic cake. We've got 2 layers of cake, torted, dirty iced, and basted, and they're ready to go. So our next step now is to fill up a pastry bag with some icing and start decorating it.
So for this, you'll get your mixing bowl ready, and we're going to color it today. We're going to make it, what color are we making it? Blue?
Teal.
Teal. So get your icing into a mixing bowl, and then just take a toothpick and put some icing in. You can get this icing at any
Food coloring.
Icing, sorry. Food coloring is what I meant to say. You can get this food coloring in any baking store. And just take a little bit. It depends however color you want to make it. You put as much or as little in of it as you want, and then we're going to give it a spin. So what I like to do halfway through is I take a spatula and I push down the icing on the sides because the food coloring doesn't get incorporated into it all the way. So you want to push it down to make sure that it all gets incorporated nicely. This takes a little time, and you want to make sure that it's nice and soft too. So if you want to make it softer, we can add some water to it. It's pretty hot today, so we probably don't need to. So we're probably good to go here for Pam to start icing the cake.
So we're using our piping bags again with, we call this a classic French tip. It usually has 5 to 6 openings worth of a star tip on the end. There can be as many or as few as you like. The fewer though, the better, to make it look more and more like a rose.
So you can also buy these bags like this, which is like a cloth bag. You can buy those at any sort of baking store. You can also just buy like a 25-cent plastic bag that's made for icing. Don't use a Ziploc bag because that is just gonna break apart on you and it's not gonna work very well. Just invest the money in something a little bit more stable.
So we filled up the bag. You don't want to overfill it because it'll just create a giant disaster of a mess. And again, you don't need to hold on to all of the icing in the bag because you won't be able to give it a very good squeeze. So the rosettes are a pretty simple pattern. What you're basically doing is making a lowercase letter E and just going around in a circle, starting in the middle and then following all the way around.
So if you want to as well, do like Pam does and practice on a table, or if you have a plate, if you don't want to make such a big mess, practice on a plate, and feel free to do as many as you want before, because the better you are at practicing here, the better it's going to look on your cake.
So for this height of cake, based on the swirls that we were making, we're going to do 2 layers worth of rosettes, and then we're going to set them off of each other so that they kind of nestle into each other. So you just start and press quite firmly onto the cake, otherwise your rosettes are going to fall off.
Also, don't worry if you don't have one of these spinners. We work obviously in a professional bakery, so we invest in these sorts of things. If you are doing a lot of cake decorating at home, by all means, it's a really great tool. Pam uses it all the time. But you can just put it on the table and slowly spin it around and move it. Or sometimes I've used put it on a cake pan underneath something that I'm able to spin the cake pan, so something smaller underneath, and that way you are able to spin it just a little bit. I don't know, or if you have Lazy Susan, that's a great option. Pam's really good at this.
I've done a few.
She's done a few.
I've done a few.
A few hundred of them, so. I'm not, which is weird because I do these on cupcakes, which we're gonna do later, but for some reason I just can't get the proportions of it on the cake.
It's the angle.
You can also do this in like different colors. You could do one line of blue, you could do another color on top, so you can do a lot of different colors.
One of my tricks though is to do this next one up and over the edge a little bit so that it's actually going to be holding on to the cake and not just freely sitting on the side in this kind of heat. Or if you're going to transport the cake, odds are they might start to come off a little bit. So when I start over here, I'm going to start on the edge and go over the top a little and then go back to the side.
Is there any other tips you could suggest?
I'm thinking
for
what
people?
else to suggest. Like you had said, this one is super easy to practice and practice.
Yeah, this comes off, like all of these rosettes are easily come off your cake. So don't feel like if you made a mistake, it's not easy to fix again. It's super easy to fix. You just can take one off or just take them all off. I've messed up on numerous occasions and I've just taken all of them off and then started again.
Or it becomes the back of the cake.
Yes, or it becomes the back of the cake. So pick the side that doesn't look as well, so when you're presenting it to people,
all the schmuck is
the
back here.
is right here.
And then to finish off, we'll just continue to go around in circles on the top of the cake.
And if you want to make it look even more special, sometimes Pam will put some like clear sanding sugar on top of it. Or if you want to put any kind of sprinkles on top of it, just to give it a little something extra.
Like we did with the sprinkle cake, you could add a banner too that says happy birthday, happy anniversary.
Happy birthday, Pam.
It's gonna be my birthday one day. And that's it. If you've got any little gaps or spaces, you can always just do a little floret just by squeezing. If you've noticed that you can see any of the cake. But that looks pretty consistent. And then like Michelle said, we can add a little crystallized sugar to it, make it extra pretty and sparkly.
That's it.
And that's a rosette cake.
It's magical.